Well, breaking news just before 7 o'clock this evening, Jessie Hoffman, who was convicted of kidnapping, raping, and killing New Orleans ad executive Molly Elliott in 1997, was put to death by nitrogen hypoxia. State officials say the execution is justice long overdue. The death of Jessie Hoffman is one of the state is celebrating despite his family and advocacy groups fighting against it until the end. His attorneys filed several appeals trying to stop his execution. There were 2 court hearings today alone. They even tried to get the U.S. Supreme Court involved, but the justices declined to intervene. This evening, Hoffman's wife called him an incredible father, an amazing husband, saying he worked to transform his life, and he's not defined by his worst moment. His attorney said the state shut the door on mercy and took his life, not for justice, but just because it was determined to move forward with an execution. And Governor Jeff Landry released a statement tonight after Hoffman's death. The governor says in part, quote, "Tonight, after 28 years, justice was served. The state of Louisiana fulfilled the contract it made with the family and friends of Mary Molly Elliott." He continued on to say, "If you commit heinous acts of violence in this state, it will cost you your life, plain and simple," end quote. As of now, 55 inmates remain on death row, and there are 3 inmates on death row with ties to Central Louisiana. Larry Roy, convicted of the 1993 stabbing deaths of his ex-girlfriend's ex-husband, Freddie Richard Jr., and her elderly aunt, Rosetta Silas in Cheneyville. Darrell Robinson, who was convicted for the 1996 killing of the family of 4 in Poland community here in Rapides Parish. And Tracy Lee, a Fort Polk soldier, convicted in connection to a 1985 incident in Natchitoches when he murdered a 15-year-old boy before sexually assaulting the boy's mother and sister.